Begin this story with a question. Who's the most celebrated mobster in America today? Think about it. John Gotti's dead. Joe Bonanno's dead. Who's left? Well, nobody really. As a matter of fact, most Americans, if asked that question, would answer Tony Soprano. That's both a tribute to the widespread appeal of The Sopranos and evidence that there isn't much life left in the real mob. This is a story about two mobs. The fictional mob of Tony Soprano, which is so popular, and the real Italian-American mob, which is on its last legs. Listen to the story of what happened to a real-life mobster when she, that's right, she, decided to turn informer.
I had no other out. I was not going away for a long time for these guys. I wasn't doing it.
It would be easy to mistake Andrea Giovino for a real-life Carmela Soprano. But don't be fooled. Unlike Carmela, Andrea was not only married to the mob, she was a mobster herself.
I had a lot of street smarts, a lot of street smarts. I'll quote John Gotti. John Gotti turned around one time and said, "She's got more balls than some of the guys that are around me."
She was only a small-time crook. Loan sharking and money laundering were her specialties, though once she gave the go-ahead for murder. Some hoodlum who had threatened to kill her brother got rubbed out instead. Given her mob background, we assumed that Andrea would be a big fan of The Sopranos. But we were wrong. You don't watch it regularly?
No.
You don't enjoy it?
No, 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 not at all. No, no, I don't like it.
Why not?
Because it's not real in so many ways. It's just not real.
But to millions of fans, the HBO show is real, an honest and brutal portrayal of a mob boss and his suburban family. Now in its fourth season, The Sopranos has won raves from critics and audiences everywhere and has become an indelible part of American pop culture.
This is the Jersey Turnpike extension, and to our left, right through these cement pylons up that dirt road, is where they buried the Czechoslovakian guy.
We took a bus ride recently, a kind of magical mafia tour of New Jersey. For $30, we joined a Sopranos bus tour, and with a lot of other Sopranos fans, listened to the spiel of tour guide Mark Barron. Barron's a would-be actor and an expert when it comes to Sopranos trivia.
Tony Soprano's company, it's called Barone Sanitation, and originally he was going to be called Tommy Soprano. Does anybody know who the casting director is from this show? Christopher Walken's wife.
The tour passes many of the sites where The Sopranos is filmed.
Now, do you remember when Big Pussy met with FBI agent Lapari in the abandoned lot? Right across the street is the lot.
And that includes the Bada Bing Club, where Tony and his mob pals hang out. There is no Bada Bing Club in the real world, just a local New Jersey strip joint. But no matter, for the fans on this bus, Tony Soprano is the real deal, an authentic American folk hero.
You like Tony Soprano?
Yeah, I like him very much.
What is it you like about him?
Well, just his acting, and just seems like a pretty sharp guy. I wish I could be him.
But not so fast. Tony leads a very stressful life. He suffers panic attacks, sees a shrink, takes Prozac, and worst of all, feels the law breathing down his neck.
Tony suffers and gets depressed because he knows the glory days of the mob are over. And he's right. To be a mafioso today is to belong to a vanishing breed. Just take a walk down Mulberry Street in New York's Little Italy, and you'll see what we mean.
Mulberry Street isn't what it used to be. All you see on the street these days are tourists. But years ago, before they turned it into a mall, Mulberry Street was Wise Guy Way. It was where real mobsters twirled their linguini, where Crazy Joe Gallo got himself whacked, where John Gotti ruled. Before the Fed sent him away, Mulberry Street was Mr. Gotti's neighborhood. And the Dapper Don played the role for all it was worth. He was the gangster as celebrity. Gotti and his cronies hung out here at what was once the infamous Ravenite Social Club. But the Ravenite's gone now, and so is John Gotti.
How powerful was he?
Oh, John Gotti was a very powerful guy.
Did you ever talk to him?
Oh, yeah, I spoke to him a couple of times. basically in courtrooms. I ran into him on Mulberry Street once.
Jerry Capisi has been working the Wise Guy beat as a newspaper reporter and an author. He wrote The Complete Idiot's Guide to the Mafia, and now he has his own website, ganglandnews.com. Capisi says the mob isn't dead by a long shot, but the federal government has broken its back, largely by getting so many mobsters to sing.
Right now, in 2002, they're actually turning wise guys away from becoming cooperating witnesses.
Why?
Well, now you have to have something important to give them that they don't have from somebody else.
So this whole mythology of the mob, we all learned this word omerta, silence. It's not only gone, but they're lining up to talk, is that it?
No question about it. There are more people trying to become cooperating witnesses simply to save their asses, save their necks. I mean, they're not looking to spend the rest of their lives in jail.
Nor was Andrea. If you want to know how betrayal became the theme song of the Italian-American mob, just listen to Andrea's story. Was there any time that you risked going to prison?
Absolutely. I was facing 10 years. They had a solid case against me.
Let's dissolve back a few decades to a picture of Andrea as a kid growing up in Brooklyn. Even at this age, she'd already been exposed to a life of petty crime. For that, she can thank her mother.
She was running crap games in the basement of our home for, I think it was in the 50s, for Crazy Joe Gallo.
How old were you?
I was probably 6.
Oh, okay, you were just a
young.
kid.
I was very young, yeah.
Okay, you're 6 years old, you're watching crap games in the basement of your house. When do you think you figured out what was going on?
Well, I kind of thought, believe it or not, that's normal. I mean, because that's really all I knew.
As the years went by, the only gentlemen who came calling were wise guys. Andrea's mother encouraged that. Mom's advice, marry a mobster.
Because in the neighborhood, you have to remember, a doctor is a nobody. A lawyer is a nobody. A mob guy is somebody. He's the guy that everybody in the neighborhood is respecting and has power and look up to and fears. They fear. And you can go also in any restaurant and say, oh, put it on this guy's bill. So she liked that. Oh, put it on his bill.
I like that.
They shake them.
So Andrea took her mom's advice and married a mobster. They raised 4 kids together. But Ozzie and Harriet, they weren't. Life outside the family was pretty gruesome.
I've seen a lot of violence in my life, a lot. I mean, really a lot. You know, somebody getting their brains batted in, literally. Like hearing about a lot of murders that people that I knew. That's the way of the streets. If you get in bed with these people, then the outcome is going to be not very good.
But the lifestyle was very good, while it lasted. Andrea wore fur coats, always drove a Mercedes, had lots of dough, and knew the right people.
How well did you know Gotti?
I knew John very well.
Did you like him?
I liked John. Yes, I did. I think John was a gentleman. He always was a gentleman around women. If somebody at the table cursed, he would definitely correct it and say, there's a lady sitting here. Don't use that language.
Sounds like a pretty normal guy, the way you describe him, a guy you'd look up to.
That's on the outside. That's a whole facade. The person inside that lurks within these types of personalities are sociopaths, psychopaths.
In 1992, Gotti's days as Don came to an end. The feds finally nailed him and put him away for the rest of his life. He died in prison last June. The government built its case on wiretaps and on the turncoat testimony of Gotti's top aide, Sammy the Bull Gravano.
When Sammy broke that silence, it broke it for many, many people. People were turning left and right in these cases. You arrest 20 guys, I guarantee you 6 out of the 20 are going to turn.
And after years of keeping silent, Andrea turned. She didn't know it, but the government was listening in, wiretapping her home phone. Andrea was heard conspiring to distribute drugs. Federal agents raided her house early one morning, told her she was facing 10 years in prison, and made her an offer she could not and did not refuse.
Was I afraid of prison? No. I knew I could survive in prison. I didn't want to leave those babies. I did not want to leave those babies, so I felt I'm going to use what I know. I'm very smart. I'm going to tell the truth.
So Andrea played ball with the feds, and they got her and her kids out of New York in a hurry. She says threats were made against her life. The feds relocated Andrea to a place in the country.
She asked us not to reveal where. She's writing a book about her mob years, hoping Hollywood buys the book and makes the movie. Andrea dreams of hits and killings of a different sort now. She also got unmarried to her mobster and imagines a family life without wise guys.
I look at it now, I have a daughter, okay? If my daughter would bring me home one of those guys, I probably today, knowing what I know, I would disown her. I really, really would.
No kidding.
Because the impact, I think that the media and the public does not know the real impact behind the lifestyle and where it leads you and what it brings you, which is a lot of trauma, a lot of heartache, a lot of pain.
Like Andrea, Tony seems headed for a lot of heartache and pain. As we saw last season, the feds are closing in on him, getting ready to destroy that thing of his. Still, it's not the reality of mob life that Americans love. It's the mobster's image. The image of a fearsome guy who plays by his own rules, but deep down has our values, even when he kills.
Tony Soprano will rob you. He will kill you, but he will not trick you. And the thing that Americans hate is to be tricked.
Eric Desenhall writes articles and novels about the mob. He thinks he knows why so many Americans are fascinated by mobsters.
My personal theory is we do not admire what mobsters do, but we miss the days where we could say, Capone, bad guy. Jesse James, bad guy. Now we've got Enron, we've got politicians, we've got Catholic priests under fire, for God's sakes. And Americans are overwrought by the hypocrisy. I mean, the way to really upset an American is hypocrisy, as opposed to doing bad things, which we can forgive, provided you have the integrity to be honest about the fact that you're a criminal.
And that's what Andrea has, the integrity to be honest about her criminal past, to come clean. Like Gotti, she was part of the old mob, and the old mob is gone. But the myth of the mob endures, which is why The Sopranos is so popular, and why Andrea's story is so compelling. We couldn't resist asking her, does she ever yearn just a little for the bad old days?
Well, I don't have the lifestyle I used to have with the money and all. I like nice things. I always like nice things. But I don't miss that because there's a consequence to that. I think my values are very much intact today. I think if you offered me $50 million, I could look at you and say, go away.
How about 75?
I wouldn't do it. Forget it.